Hey, welcome back to Bible Study with Grace Glow Flow. So, I'm going to start by asking you a question. Have you ever been down to your last? Like the bills are stacking up, the fridge is looking real empty, and you don't know where your next blessing is coming from? If that's you, then I got a story for you today. We're talking about the widow of Zarephath, a single mama struggling to survive who thought she was down to her last meal. But let me tell you, when God steps in, that last turns into overflow. So grab a seat because we're about to get into it. All right, let's set the scene. There's a famine in the land. No rain, no food, just drought and struggle everywhere. And in the middle of all this, we have a widow, a single mother, living in a place called Zarephath, just trying to take care of her little boy. Now imagine this. You only have a handful of flour left, a tiny bit of oil, and you know once you cook this last meal, that's it. No more food. She's literally preparing her last supper. Now, if you've ever looked at your bank account, looked at your bills, and realized something ain't adding up, girl, this is that moment. But just when she's about to accept defeat, here comes a man named Elijah. Now, Elijah was a prophet of God, and God had already told him, "Go to Zarephath. I got a widow there who'll take care of you." Now, here's the thing. The widow doesn't know anything about this plan. She's just out here trying to survive. So Elijah rolls up, sees her, and says, "Hey, can you bring me some water?" Now, water was already scarce, but she was kind enough to go get it. But then, before she even walks away, Elijah hits her with, "Oh, and while you're at it, can you bring me some bread too?" Now, listen, what? This woman is already struggling. She got one meal left for her child and herself, and this man is out here asking for bread like he's at a restaurant. So sis keeps it real with him and she says, "Look, I don't have any bread. I only have a handful of flour, a little oil, and I'm about to make a meal for me and my son. And then that's it. We're just going to wait and die." That's how bad it was. She had no backup plan, no savings, no support, just survival mode. Now, this is where faith gets real. Elijah looks at her and says, "Don't be afraid. Go ahead and make that meal. But before you eat, make a small loaf for me first. Then make something for you and your son." Now hold on. She just said she doesn't have enough, and he's talking about feed him first. But then Elijah gives her a word from God. God said your flour jar will not run empty, and your oil will never dry up until this famine is over. Now let's be real. This is a hard moment. She has to decide to, number one, hold on to what little she has and watch it run out, or number two, trust that God can make a little turn into a lot. And what did the widow do? She chose faith. So she does what Elijah tells her. She takes her last, makes a meal, and serves Elijah first. And guess what? The next time she goes to check her flour jar, it's still full. She looks at her oil jug. It didn't run out. The next day, same thing. And the next, and the next. She had unlimited groceries in the middle of a famine. And let me tell you, what's powerful about this? The miracle didn't come all at once. God didn't drop a warehouse of food on her doorstep. Instead, He provided little by little, day by day. Sometimes we want God to bless us all at once, but he's teaching us to trust him daily. Now, you'd think the story ends here, right? Nope. Sometime later, her son gets sick. And not just a little sick, he stops breathing. She's heartbroken. She goes to Elijah and she says, Elijah, why is this happening? Did God bring you here just for my son to die? Have you ever had a moment where it felt like just when things were getting better, life hit you hard again? But Elijah, he didn't panic. He takes the boy upstairs, lays him before God, and prays. And then something powerful happens. Elijah stretches himself over the child 3 times and cries out, Lord, let this boy's life return to him. And guess what? The boy starts breathing again. Do you see what just happened? This woman trusted God with her last meal, and now she's witnessing a resurrection in her own house. Sometimes, when we trust God in one area, he shows up even bigger in another. Let me ask, where do you need a miracle? Maybe you feel like you're running on empty. Empty on strength, empty on money, empty on hope. Maybe you feel like you're down to your last and you don't know what's next. But let me remind you, God is a provider. This widow thought she was about to eat her last meal and fade away. But when she trusted God, she never ran out. And guess what? Neither will you. If this message blessed you, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and share with another queen who needs to hear this. I'll see you next time. Stay strong, stay faithful, and remember, God will always come through.